My dear friends in Japan, especially in Okinawa, and friends from outside Japan, solidarity greetings from the Philippines and from the International Peace Bureau. I'm deeply grateful to Japan Peace Committee for this invitation to join you this year. I see this gathering as a symbol of your courage and continuing commitment to pursue our common dream of a basis-free, demilitarized, and peaceful Asia and Pacific. Despite the pandemic disasters and continuing rise of authoritarian and militaristic regimes that threaten our freedoms, our security, and our life, we try to understand the situation and the reasons of our insecurity, find solutions, alternatives, and forge unities to make our actions powerful and life-changing. 28 years ago, we in the Philippines experienced tremendous joy in witnessing the withdrawal of the US from the Philippines, marking what we had hoped then as the beginnings of a truly basis-free, nuclear-free Philippines. The prospect of these former bastions of US military dominance in Asia Pacific being converted into peaceful civilian facilities that would benefit the people filled our hearts with so much hope. I often wish that our experience in the Philippines will become a reality for Okinawa and for many base communities in Japan and in other parts of the world. Today, I wish I could continue to tell you that US bases and troops are no more in the Philippines. After several regimes, many agreements more were forged by our government with the US and its allies, on top of the old Mutual Defense Treaty, all for the sake of security and defense of the Philippine territory and containment of China military buildup and encroachment in the West Philippine Sea. A US Navy facility is reported to be built jointly by the US and Australia. This 600-hectare facility within Subic, technically a Philippine military facility for the exclusive use of the US, is the US military's way to return to the Philippines, the most strategic positioned facility so far. While doing our best to triumph over the pandemic and the economic difficulties, we continue to learn lessons of history that authoritarianism, militarism, and injustice would end. We oppose war not only because we could be caught between two or more contending parties because of our proximity, but also because war, especially wars of aggression, wars of colonization, wars for market expansion are cruel, destructive, inhuman, and unjust. As we gather and look at the realities we face, such as arms race in Asia Pacific, increased military spending, toxic legacy of US war machine, military violence on women and children, let us be inspired by the lessons and achievements of our many years of resistance that the generations before us started. Let us continue to support and accompany affected communities where courage is palpable, unities for nonviolent resistance are strong, and solidarity is genuine and heartfelt, where people have deep understanding of the interrelatedness of nuclear weapons, military bases, climate change, military spending, colonialism, sovereignty, human rights, and social justice issues, and why removing and closing military bases is an important dimension of our campaign for total elimination of nuclear weapons. Our struggle against military bases is inspired by our belief that nuclear weapons stationing and use can only be possible if there are military infrastructures and personnel that can ensure its presence and functionality. Military bases function as hubs and centers of operations, training areas, which would compromise, which will, which comprise an important component of U.S. military infrastructure and war machine. Our continuing solidarity with frontline resistance provides the space to learn from each other, to support and forge unities based on the rootedness in our local community struggles. The recent election in the US, with a Biden US win, reflects the increasing rejection of undemocratic and anti-people policies and governance, particularly by the youth and the people of color. And it will have an impact on US foreign policy that would have an implication on our insecurity in our region. Let me quote from our friend Joseph Gerson in his recent article where he sums up what we can expect. Biden uh, is committed to US hegemony, like Obama, Clinton, and Trump. He is wed to the pivot to Asia. The new military, economic, diplomatic, and soft power Cold War with China, Biden is committed to revitalizing US European relations and Washington's military alliances around the world. With the United States building the Quad, a mini NATO of Japan, Australia, India, and the United States to contain China. Like Trump, Biden will support the newly conceived Indo-Pacific alliance structure. That said, his approach to China will be less confrontational than Trump has been. Not a good news indeed, but expected. There is a lot of work to be done, my friends. In moments like this, in the Philippines, we dare to say, tuloy ang laban. On with the struggle. Let me end on that note with an appeal for all of us to be strong, to continue to resist, to be courageous, and to be even more hopeful. The only way to win is to never give up.